if I'll try to throw this in, and it could get real time consuming. If you believe in the rapture, which I do, but if you believe in the rapture, can you imagine if tomorrow morning, well, you guys wouldn't, because you'd wake up in heaven and be looking down and seeing. But can you imagine the chaos
if you were here
tomorrow morning if the rapture occurred tonight?
Right.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
millions of people, and even if the conservative estimates are true, that we got 300 plus million in this country today. Most people claim, or a lot of your fundamentalist Christians say, 60% of this country claims it's Christian, but there's really only about 10% are actually Christian. Okay, let's say 10%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't believe it, but let's say 10% are Christians. 300 million people is 30 million people are gone.
Gone.
That's 30 million mortgages aren't going to get paid.
Yep.
Car payments aren't going to get paid. Bank loans, all of that stuff like that. The executives are not, are gone out of their companies.
Mm-hmm.
The working men didn't show up. All of this. Can you imagine the chaos
Yes.
of that? I mean, if you're talking about 10% suddenly defaulting, I mean, they're talking about major, catastrophe.
It would be.
And with all of the chaos and the craziness and the fear and everything else that's going on, all of a sudden some guy shows up on the scene and he just seems to have all the answers. We're going to do this, and he does it, and this works. We're going to do this, and this suddenly works. And all of a sudden, things start smoothing out. It's starting to work.
Right.
Now, everybody's going to start following him.
Of course they will.
But the side effect to that is there's a ton of people in churches today that think they're Christians, but they're not.
Exactly.
Now, and I'm even me, and I'm a grace person, but a lot of people are deceived into thinking as long as they go to church every week or every few weeks, and they they don't drink much and they don't beat their wife too often.
And
and I hardly ever mess with my secretary. So, surely God will accept me,
Yeah,
especially
surely.
compared to that guy.
Yeah.
He goes out,
He's a bad
and
one.
so they think they're Christians
Right.
because they attend church.
That's not
And
gonna cut it.
so when the rapture comes,
Hmm.
they're going to head to church Sunday morning, and they ain't going. And most of the people they know is gone, but there's going to be a bunch of them are still there.
Yeah. There will
And they
be.
are going to be scared spitless, and the first thing they're going to be doing is trying to find the archives where they got all the tapes and the books in the library and the local Christian bookstore.
Oh
They'll
yeah.
be closed today. Nobody's there, So they'll probably kick the door in
Oh,
and go
yeah.
in and start, getting all the tapes and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And so they're going to be studying like crazy,
Oh yeah.
and to try to see what it is, and they got to read all of this stuff, and they're going to start getting saved.
And there are other people that are not saved. They're going to see the other ones starting to study, and then they're going to realize, oh, my wife tried to tell me this was the truth, but I didn't listen. And then they're going to say, well, let's start to find out the answers,
Yeah, exactly. They'll be getting together, trying to well, what do you know? What did you hear? And get it.
Yeah.
And like one pastor I heard one time, he says the greatest revival in history will probably occur about 30 minutes after the rapture.
Yeah.
All these people that are always going to get around to it one of these days are suddenly going to be praying.
Oh, they will be, yeah.
Now, what happens now with all this going on
Mm-hmm.
is when you get all of this happening, these people are going to start studying, and all this stuff that Antichrist is doing is looking so good, they're going to start realizing it ain't so good and where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Now, when you go through all of what I just said, now you can get down into, well, okay, what's he going to do? Well, first of all, what's going to happen And let's drop down to Revelation 6. That's your four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Okay.
Everybody likes to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. The first horse, if you remember, is white, and it says he goes forth carrying a bow. He doesn't have arrows. Yeah. Okay, whatever. But the thing is he goes forth with a bow, but he goes forth as a man of peace. And you see this in your Daniel was talking about. He goes forth with subtleties. He's conquering the subtleties. He's trying to say to everybody, I'm such a great guy, you should follow me, you love me, and look at all the great things I'm doing for the country. Well, he's doing that, but at the meantime, you got all these Christians over here, new Christians that are really on fire because all of a sudden this means something. They're studying like crazy, and they're starting to resist some of the stuff he's wanting to do because he's trying to become a world ruler.
Right.
So they start this is what you see in the when it talks about the two legs and of the Antichrist. You know, the vision, you see it in Revelations when it says, you know, talked about the head of gold, the breast of silver, which we said earlier was the Medo-Persian Empire.
Okay.
The feet, or the abdomen, or the stomach was the Grecian Empire.
Okay.
And then the two legs was the monster, the beast that comes out of the sea and all that, and that's Antichrist and his deal. And once again, there's your two legs. You got the Roman, and that came in 330 AD when Constantine moved the head of the church from Rome to Constantinople.
Oh.
And once again, where's the Antichrist? Leopard, the gold, all over there in 300. See what I'm saying? But you got these legs, and the Roman Empire lasted a long time, a lot longer than any of the rest of them did. You know, and it talks about in the feet at the bottom of it, at the end of it, the feet were part iron and part clay.
Right.
That's all your Christians coming in and standing against him, and so you got all of the battling on it. That's where you see it here. He goes forth as a man of peace. He sets up, everything looks cool. Then people start resisting because they start realizing who he is. And so that's when you see the red horse coming on the scene, which is war.
War.
And he makes war with the saints, and he fights them and all of the stuff like that. So you see that coming into play. Now, I remember all of this time is in the tribulation period. And in my opinion, and like I said, somebody will argue, and that's fine, you're welcome to. You're welcome to your opinion. But in my opinion, these first two horses are basically the first half of the tribulation period.
Okay.
The second half of the tribulation is where God steps in. Antichrist, the first thing it does, it says over in Daniel 7, I believe it is. He'll speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints in the Most High, and he will seek to change times and laws. Now, what does the Muslims do when they first take over? They get rid of all Christian ethics. You don't have any Christmas. You don't have Easter. You know, our Thanksgiving would be gone. All of this stuff like that, and they replace it with Sharia law. He's changing times and seasons on here. Daniel 11:3 says, neither will he regard the desires of women. The Muslims are famous for that. You know, women are second-class citizens.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's what it's talking about here.
Oh, boy.
So now you've got one in here that's changing times and seasons. You talk about one that's doesn't pay attention to women, doesn't care what they want or like. You got these out of this same geographical region up here that I was just talking about. And then in Daniel 20, this is what you were talking about a while ago. I saw the thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw, read this real closely, I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus. What is the Muslim favored way of executing Christians. Revelations 20, chapter 4.